Okay.
We'll call the special meeting to Water and Wastewater Commission meeting to order. Start out with a roll call.
Engel.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
Levenow.
Here.
Holman. Franks. Passberg.
Here.
Bushki.
Here. Citizens' comments. No citizen comments. We'll move on to discussion with possible action, merit and performance-based pay schedule for operator positions.
Okay, so that's the attachment that's in, let's see, here in your packet. So that was an item that was approved in September 2021 for the operator wage scales. I was asked to bring that back tonight, so it could be added as or revised as a policy. The correct wordage for that one is a policy that gets added to the handbook, the general handbook for employees.
Now, is that all employees or just water and wastewater?
Your policy would only pertain to the water and wastewater operators.
So there was nothing in there beforehand?
According to what I understand, it was a policy adapted by the commission, but it was never,
It was never presented to the council for approval.
so therefore it wasn't
In your employee.
incorporated in the city's employee handbook.
So is this what the people get now?
Yes.
So it's what we're practicing now, right?
But this year, it's the cost of living, which the mayor presented in his budget, was not included in your budget. But, so that's where we were asked, we weren't aware, but we, meaning the council, was not aware of this incentive or performance of your.
That's
employee.
not true at all. You have a member on your council that made the motion to approve that. So I want to dismiss that right now. That's not true.
Why don't you
That the council is not aware.
why don't you come up here? Because then the, I'll
Anyhow,
can,
Okay,
so the council was aware of it.
this was missed and put on the parking lot. It was talked about, it was passed on the council last Monday, and it's passed by council.
So it has to go back to the council, what you're saying.
No, it's already passed to
Okay.
council.
But the fact that the council did not know about it is not true.
Members of the council
okay, this
look
is.
at that.
We're on the commission at the time it was
The
passed.
mayor creates the budget, and created the budget with me and with the comptroller. The comptroller included a 3% cost of living increase for all employees, including a 50 cents for the part-time. When it came back to the commission for approval, me, as the administrator, did not realize that it included your incentive for your operators, and it did not include your cost of living increase. So that's where the confusion lied. Whereas you have to include your cost of living increase, that's across the board for all of your employees. So if you wanted the cost of living, the 3%, and then the incentive, there was no direction because all of your actions were done in closed session, which you really shouldn't be doing. So if you have a policy in place, then you'll be doing your evaluations of your employees and through your director, and then your policy should state when and if your performance or your merit incentive will take place with your employees. And that way, when they're hired, they'll know
Right.
that this
But
is.
are we talking about real current with the council or back when we devised this? You certainly talked about it in closed session, you still have to come out of closed session and vote on it in open session.
Correct.
And there would have been members of the council.
But the
You have
last
to-
meeting you just had, it was in closed session where you approved this.
No.
Where you
But we didn't
approved the
approve
incentive
that.
pay for the employees and the market adjustment rate,
Did we
which
see
is not
this
this.
piece of paper? I don't remember that.
Yeah,
We did?
yep, it's in September 2021 that went through.
Yeah, 21.
21. So, but Ken's saying that that's not a question. Oh,
That's not, there's no question on
Right,
the,
right.
on the 2021. I'm talking about when it says discuss possible action merit performance-based pay scale for the operator positions. We did talk about that. We did talk about that in previous meetings. I can look at minutes. We just talked about it probably, you brought it up before budget meeting or
Yeah,
before
during the
budget.
budget meeting.
And talking about that, and I remember conversations about it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I didn't miss it, or it was missed, I guess, in operations or with the mayor's budget. I don't know if he did that differently. But the position, I remember talking about it.
Yeah.
Not saying that we didn't talk about it, but then it was pulled out because we put things in the parking lot like we do with council, like we used to with different mayors, and then we have discussions about it. I don't know where it was missed or where it needs to be put into, but I know that I talked before also about your pay, that's the next thing, of 3% across the board as for a raise. That's 3% across the board. It was expressed by the mayor, it was expressed by our other leaders, it's expressed by the city administrator. That's where we're at. That's what we can afford. And
Well,
I did express that
I
to
think
us.
that's where the confusion comes in, is
Yeah.
because there is a lot of new leadership
So
and
there's-
there's a lot of new
yeah.
ways of
So
doing
there's-
things that we haven't had in practice previously.
Right, so this merit and performance-based pay scale would be looked upon the next finance meeting, because it's already done, it's already into the budget as a 3% flat rate. Saying that it's wrong or right, I don't know, but it's kind of a mute issue, and it would have to go and be brought up to council, obviously, again, or put in, because you're working on the employee handbook, that would be distributed to the wastewater.
So my understanding is this, you want this as policy in the employee handbook, returning to water, wastewater only. So 3% cost of living is
You have
what
other
this-
areas within the handbook that it only applies to utility workers, or it only applies to DPW.
So this is an incentive-based program that's beyond it. I guess in the way we look at it, it's educated operators receiving incentive for going
And you don't have a
above and
problem.
beyond doing their.
The council.
I couldn't,
You have to realize you're gonna get the 3% and then you'll get this on top. And that was not communicated during the budget process.
No, because they're already at this. The operators are already at this scale that we, right?
I don't know
So
what
look
you're even talking about. I've never seen the policy.
I brought it in
3%.
last week or a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago.
The copy left. I mean, never got to see it.
Well, I guess, yeah, that was one of
So
those.
I don't know, your policy should say when you're gonna be implementing it. Is it during is it on their anniversary date? Is it on January 1? When will it take effect?
We get a letter from the DNR when they pass a test is when these are implemented. Upon passage of the individual test is when their rates are implemented.
Those would already been done, so they're up to the wage they're at.
They're currently at scale on their wage, but I didn't want to
So we're
go
gonna go
backwards if this
3%.
isn't a policy that, if it has to be moved on to a handbook policy, that's fine, but I didn't want to go backwards on them and take something, take an incentive away. I guess is the way I was looking at it. And this is hard to budget for because you don't know who's gonna pass what test and who's gonna, you take your best guess as to look at.
that's what it is, best guess.
Right,
Is
And
it
you
a-
said, and I remember vividly, because we talked about it, that you said a lot of them don't do it.
right, and
So
this
there's
is why
that,
this is.
so there's
taken
not a
out.
lot of like, we're not missing a lot of people right here, right now. So I think it'd be fair to say that we could at least get it into moving action where it should be in front of the council or finance committee to look at it or put it in your side of the administration into the handbook. Because they're doing the handbook right now. They're just looking over it. So this might be, it's gonna be a handbook item and it might be a little bit of side budget on your planning for next budget.
To try and figure out who's gonna.
25, 26, you know what I mean?
Well, when I reviewed these numbers, I did put this information in there as a best guess as to how many and who would.
And I didn't,
testing, yeah.
they went, we've all went, you've been a part of the budget process for, everybody's been in there. And we've been working on it for the last 8 weeks.
So they get the increase when they pass the test
Correct.
throughout the year? I
As,
did not
yeah,
know that.
they get
Because the policy isn't in the handbook. I don't know.
And that's important for the city administrator. She runs the city, that obviously she knows. There could be other council members that know, and I know, but there was, even in the past, there's council members. But if the city administrator who runs the city doesn't know, then it's kind of Yeah, there's a yellow flag there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that's been implemented for 3 years.
Sure.
And I don't mean any offense by that,
And
but
no.
this is new to us, how we're practicing.
And I don't know how Mayor Gwynn had it in there. I don't know how Mayor Belk has it in there. So obviously it's not in there right now. So there's something,
There hasn't
there's,
been an employee handbook since Act 10 went into effect.
right, so that's, yeah,
That's what, 12 years?
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do now. I can appreciate that, yeah. I can.
and it's a big job. Plus, obviously, you know, the difference of the temperature of the city and the temperature of the old into the new, and new people, a lot of new people in front office and returning people.
Well, I think communication is so
Right.
important. If we didn't have that communication, I think Courtney alluded to that it's important that we're communicating, that we know
Right
that
now,
all of our employees are being treated the same, with the 3% COLA. And if you have a policy in place, it should really be in your employee handbook. And that's all I'm asking for. And that council is aware of that.
So I think 3A is, we're all fine with.
Yeah.
So they're
I
gonna
don't know
get a
what action
3%,
I don't know what action you would like to take, Commissioner, or
Hold
they're
on,
gonna get a 3% raise on top of their current salary.
so that's built in there. So the previous, I think this agenda item is kind of a two-parter, because what we came from was, we never did cost of living in this department. We did it a split merit based is what we
And
always did.
they're saying, no,
we
you're
just
not
did
gonna
cost
do
of
that
living this
anymore.
year for this budget.
Right, so again, I followed what we did for the past 3
I gotcha.
plus. So that's kind of the discussion we were having. I get it, 3% across the board. So part 2 of this discussion is if you guys wanted to do anything else or just the implementation of this, because we had them split at 3.75 and 1.75. It was more of a
I
merit
don't
based,
think
not
they're
a
giving
COLA
us,
based.
no, it's 3% across the board.
Okay,
Correct.
That's for the cost of living?
Cost of living.
That's for the, okay.
Yeah.
So the only way somebody can make more money in our
Is to
department
go take a test
is to go take the test
and pass.
and pass.
Have the initiative to go get schooling.
You all right with that, Mike?
Fine.
So we need a motion or why need a
We
motion?
have a
It's already in
motion
the
to pass
budget.
it on to council,
Yeah.
so that we can get this into the employee handbook.
That part of it, yeah.
So are we in line
So
with
3A.
Public Works, what they get for a CDL, $1 an hour more, than they get that?
Good question, not for me.
Public Works, are we in line with them as for what they get for a CDL? Do they get $1 an hour, just like the utility employees?
I would have to look into the employee handbook. I know they do get some kind of 50-cent incentive, I think after 6 months, their employee, and I'm not sure what.
It says right here, CDL, add $1. So
That's for us.
that's for us, but what,
Yeah, I'm not sure if the DPW has that.
okay,
I think, well,
they should, if they don't, but nobody knows.
My suggestion would be make a motion to get that into the employee handbook.
page 2.
Yeah,
The entire thing.
yeah,
I
so it's in
You said
there.
we should make a motion and get it back to finance, is that where you
No.
want it, or back to council?
Move it to council.
I'll make a motion that we,
He's got a motion, you got a second, right? Newman? You
Yeah.
motion? Yeah.
no, I'll say.
And Dave has a second. We'll take roll call on that.
Engel,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Levino,
Aye.
Hasberg,
Aye.
and Bushki.
Aye. Next is discussion possible action, market rate for director of utilities position.
And like I said, we talked about it, it was on the parking lot, I advised the commission of 3% across the board. And that's all I have, they passed it on the council with an amendment and passed to council and passed in for 3% across for everybody on the wastewater and water commission.
But
Even-
that's just the cost of living, so now we need
Right.
to look at,
Well, that won't be, if we're talking, for a raise,
Above the 3%.
yeah, for Courtney, that would be not talked about until
You're
obviously,
talking position, at this point,
Position.
you're talking position.
Stephanie, could you,
Utility director position only. When you're talking market rate, that's a position rate. not an individual employee. So as you adjust your positions of your department heads, so if you're doing a market rate and you're making a certain position, bringing it back into market, and if the council is not aware of that, and they're not adjusting their other positions accordingly, you're creating this compression within the city as to what the city can afford. So that's why that communication is very important when you do a rate for a position. So it's a utilities director's position. So it should be a communication between the council and the commission that we're setting them market rates accordingly, not just for one position, but for all positions for the city.
Okay, I think that makes good sense. My question would be is when do we do that?
You can do it anytime, you just don't do it within the budget process. So it has to have that communication, it has to have that discussion of what we want to set our market rates at.
But what would trigger, which is fine, but let's say that we want to do this market thing, all right? Do we then say, mayor or council or whomever, we're gonna do this market thing, does that then trigger
A study.
DPW, does that,
That it might, but that would be a direction. If they want to pay for a study, then it would be a study that includes all the positions.
what does it take to perform that? I mean, I've done these studies all my life, why would I have to pay somebody to accumulate this? I have stuff here
Okay.
that I could say it's a market base. And that is what has led us kind of to where we've made these suggestions. Now, and I think at least what the mayor did is he put that on the, what do you call it, parking place or
Parking lot.
how do we get that moving? Are we,
Now, what we have to do, obviously,
I can understand you want to take that out of the budget.
next budget, not the one we're currently working on in 2025, the next year's budget, 2026, we'd sit down as wastewater commission and along with everybody here, and we talk about rate, we talk about market rate, we talk about director salary, we do it all over again. But like I said, and then in April, you're gonna have new council members, newly elected council members. And then you could probably set what you'd like to do, what you want to do for your rates,
But you're
your salaries.
talking,
But I would have a meeting between regular meeting and a regular meeting and talk about it now.
so
before it's-
essentially, we're not doing anything until
We can't do anything now.
26,
It's passed.
till 2026,
Correct,
because we can't do it for.
correct,
Because what's passed? The overall budget?
correct.
It's not passed, it's not adopted.
Not yet.
They've
Well-
reviewed it numerous times, though. It's close to being passed.
Yeah, I don't really like that answer, but I can see where
I can't. You're paid to keep good people. Whatever. I'm just one vote.
so we need a motion to do something with 3B.
Correct, you could park it, or you could, table it until your next regular meeting.
Well, I don't know if that's doing that, we might as well table it till 2025.
Whatever you'd like to do.
No, you really wanna, and it's really important that you talk about people and employees, but
Right.
this is a position, and it's really important that you discuss this in open session. It shouldn't be discussed in closed session. It's not about any particular person. When you're talking market rate, it's position. So, I mean, I think you should start this process, and, I mean, it'll take time. You send it to council, that way they can start discussing this, and that we're not at the budget part of the
Full
year. And we had time, the council has time to vet it, so that we we do keep our employees and we are at market and we do look at this and review it. So,
That's kind of
And-
the problem,
and it
is
would
it's
be
been
really
going on for
nice-
years that way though.
but as we look at it, they say that there's a scale in the employee handbook, but it's really not a good scale. So it's not, so it definitely, as we review the employee handbook, it'd be great to like put this in at a rate or a step or whatever you wanna call it.
So is
Whatever
the
the city
personnel
wants.
committee looking into this for the DPW, for police?
Well, that's what would trigger this.
Well, they should be, all of them should be doing it, not just us.
Correct, but there's never been the.
There's never been that, as my
Got a comment.
mother-in-law, my mother-in-law would say,
You got a
come.
comment?
What if you called it something else? What if you just called it a merit raise or something like that? And didn't she say that you could do this at any time?
The market rate, the rate adjustment definitely,
Can be done at any time.
anytime.
But we can't do it now because of the budget's been passed, or,
So when would be the first opportunity
Well, it
to
would-
call it to do a merit?
That's two different things. A merit and performance is based on your performance.
Yep.
And that's usually set January 1, anniversary date, that's according to how you perform. A market rate adjustment is according to how the positions lay out with other surrounding communities. And it's the police chief, it's the DPW director, it's utility director, it's your department heads and how their market rate or their wage compares with other surrounding areas.
For a market rate, then, as I'm understanding it, you'd want to do that for the whole city.
Correct.
So that you would have a time list that would say, here's police department, here's public works, here's what we find as far as the survey. Within the confines of what we're attempting to do is a merit increase. We're trying to get to that, Tony. How do we help us get there?
A merit increase is only gonna differ what the market rate is, so. A merit,
It's two different. Learn anything about a merit is based on work that you perform. A market rate is, how you all decide how much was I going to get paid based on what my job description is, what my duties are. If the police chief leaves, we're gonna at least have to, you would at least have to offer them whatever a fair market value is for that position. You're not just automatically going to pay them the same as the person that's leaving because he's filling in that job.
Saying something, you look at market, when I was in the TV and radio industry, you look at Milwaukee market, was number 33. That's exactly what it was. They say program directors for a 100,000 watt station make $33,000 a year. If you're on a TV station and you're in market 33, the head programmer makes $50,000. But that didn't mean that that person's gonna be maxed out at $50,000 or $33,000. It's just a market value of where it is.
And still you have to have your performance within
Right.
that degree. I understand all of that.
So my suggestion would be just table this till your next regular meeting. And you could start talking about it. And we can all talk about it.
Well, that was the closed item discussion, as far as I understand, was the merit based, but then we didn't do a closed
I
item.
imagine the city doesn't like merits because it will cause animosity between the department heads.
Obviously.
Right.
Yeah, see,
So that's why they want this market.
see how it goes.
Yeah.
And the merit, I mean, let's say that you can do something within the merit, it can't exceed the maximum of the rate base. I mean, I understand that. You gotta work within your confines. But what we're trying to get to is how, based upon our studies of what we've looked at, we feel that there's a merit increase that should be made available. How do we say, how do we do that without having to wait till 2026?
Can't.
but this is, it was presented in our budget. In the water wastewater budget.
I don't know about that. I can't say if it was or not. I know that
Was
this was missed.
it was
The first one.
presented, but the 3% COLA was not.
Right.
your cost of living wasn't included.
Which what I presented then was removed and it was replaced by 3% across the board.
Correct.
Now, am I wrong? Public Works and Police, their pay comes out of the tax fund, right? Tax rule money? Utility employees are paid out of utility rate payers, is that not right?
Well, your user
Yeah,
fees are another tax, so you can say it that way, but the overall employees of the city
Right.
still have to be treated the same way and in a fair and equitable way. And that's one thing the council has to watch over.
That's what I'm here for. So I'm trying to do. So I know some might not like it. Some may feel a negative effect on it, but we said where we are as a city, we're at 3%. So that's how we voted. That's where it's at the council, 3% across the board. The slippery slope is that we cause more friction if we come up with a meeting and like this and then come back. And I feel it's not, this meeting shouldn't have even been brought to light. That's how I feel. Personally.
Well, because things are also changing with new regimes
Yeah, but,
and handbooks and all of this.
right. And that's what I just,
And all of a sudden, the plate's thrown in front of you and you're saying, okay, this is what it's gonna be now.
and that's what people don't like, the salty taste in their mouth. So I'm just telling you,
I'm just saying, I hope you don't lose good people.
me too,
I hope you truly,
Obviously.
truly. Because
obviously.
I think you've got good people, and I'm talking throughout the city.
I have
By
nothing,
God, I've worked in business long enough that if you're gonna be petty, pound foolish,
yeah,
you get what the hell you
Seems like you're
deserve.
doing the donkey with the carrot
Exactly.
in front of it,
exactly.
you know?
So, good luck. Good luck.
See, now, that's just a personal attack on the city and myself, but I see it. So you need to make a motion or continue on.
Somebody's gotta make a motion.
What can we motion? What can we motion but the table? I think our hands are tied.
Like you said, why do we even have this meeting?
So we're looking for a motion to do something with 3B. Discussion and possible action, market rate for utilities director position. If there's no motion, there's no action taken.
Can we make the motion to perform marketplace? I mean, to go through that energy to say, all right,
I think you did do a lot of your homework already on the market rate. You did a lot of your homework from other municipalities and
Yes, we've
did a
got,
lot of comparisons. You need to document that and then make a motion and send that off to council so that it'll start the discussion then. If that's what, and then they can vet it from there. I mean, but then they know and your desires to get this position into market rate. And that is,
Well, and part of this was correcting past because there wasn't communication. So the COLA that was presented a couple of years ago across the board that we didn't do, we came in at a significantly lower rate for the utilities across the board than the citywide did as well, so.
well, I think I did the homework and I think it was 1 year where the department heads got 7% and you only got 4%. So that is definitely a good argument, whereas you should see a 3% there. In addition to the 3% cost of living, but that's the way it has to be presented to council from the commission. This is what happened in the past, and an
Yeah.
adjustment. So, I mean, there, it,
We're just like the city hall.
Yes, we are.
July 1st.
Oh,
Actually, it won't let us do it because it's not part of the budget.
What did you, yeah.
well, I guess according to our market rate analysis, the average for water, wastewater utilities, I'll go on record as saying this, the average for a population of 5,000 to 10,000 is 94,744. Is the average, 94,000. And we're a long ways away from that. So I think a market rate study's gotta be done. We've done ours, there it is. If the council wants to do another one, we'd be more than happy to listen to it. Is that fair?
It's not us against, it's not me against you guys.
No, I know that,
No,
but
but,
I guess I'm
so
asking
you,
you.
you as the commissioner have control and you do what you'd like to do. I'm here as a member. And I said, I'm here to watch the money of the city. That's what I'm here for. That's about it. Not here if I like somebody or dislike somebody or the past or whatever, but you need to carry on the meeting and continue on.
So there's no action taken on 3B. There's no motion, there's no second. So I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.